I love the fact that we'll be talking about AI, but we're going to use humans to do that, and that's perfect. I'll introduce my guests. Madam Aleksandra Przegalińska, Vice President of Koźmińskiego University.
Hello.
Welcome. Andrea, Emilio, Rizzoli, and I'm going to misspell the name.
Right. I think
the name of the institution.
It's ITSIA.
ITSIA, what does it mean?
The Dalle Molle Institute for Artificial Intelligence.
There you go.
In Lugano, in southern
In
Switzerland.
Lugano, absolutely, in Switzerland. And Mr. Cédric Villani, who you know, he just came back from the stage. Welcome to the discussion. Let's start. I know we talk a lot about the subject before we met here. And I know that you think that the subject of the discussion, the generative AI, is not fully, for you, it's not fully acceptable because you think we're missing the point. Could you tell us why?
Yeah, because I think there are so many other types of artificial intelligence that are, in a sense, more relevant and very effective in solving real-world problems. If you think about the type of AI that managed to solve the protein folding problem, that was based on reinforcement learning combined with deep neural networks, and that was a huge achievement. I'm not denying that generative AI is going to have a real impact also on science, which is what interests me the most. But the danger of the abuses of generative AI are very, very present. And for this, I think that it is very important what we are doing together with Aleksandra in a European project that I leave to Aleksandra to say a few words.
Yeah, I mean, I'm happy to comment on that, but before I get into the project that we are running together in a big consortium, the project is about healthy AI in education and at universities, right? At universities, we have this big debate. How is generative AI really contributing? Is it a new form of plagiarism, or is it actually something that can enhance the learning process? We're trying to spot exactly, where it can be an enhancement, something like a tutor or a sparring partner for students, not necessarily a fabrication of fiction where you generate an essay and your teacher generates an assessment of your essay. That's just a part of it, but I wanted to touch upon, I think, what Andrea is talking about, because all of us here are working in the AI space in different areas of it, and I do think that, the generative AI hype is very, very big. Maybe 2 years after the release of ChatGPT, we are cooling down a bit, but I'm not seeing it. Honestly,
we're definitely not.
We're not, right? Maybe we should have, but we're clearly not. But I have to tell you that I was pretty surprised, because I went to a similar forum to the one that we are visiting here, which is Davos, the economic forum this year. And I have been hearing that the generative AI hype is over, at least for some bubbles. And the new form of AI that is exciting is physical AI, right? Which is a combination of robots, physical machines that have to face reality and the noise of the reality, with perhaps generative AI or other types of AI. So somewhat we are still consuming generative AI as a great population, but over there on the horizon, indeed, we have other trends that are benefiting from other parts of research that has been conducted.
Like neurosymbolic AI, for instance.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I think one of the problems is that nobody knows where the AI is going to. Like, what's going to happen? I ask everyone, being a journalist, I want to know what's going to happen, because I want to be the first one to report on this. But nobody knows the answer. And maybe this is part of the problem, that, hype, I think hype is still there. Let me just say, I think hype is still there. I think Davos is over, impact is the future. That's what my thinking.
I like that. I like that. That's cool.
Please go ahead.
Yes, first, I like that too. Let me insist. My personal definition of AI is algorithmic automatization, electronic automation of a task, I say a task, that you would have thought humans were the only ones to be able to do it, or animals, and that attracts the buzz. And think, for instance, of something that we are all familiar with, that does a task that before was reserved to humans, which is automatic search for information on the web. Google or the Chinese analog Baidu, they nailed it at the end of the 90s because they understood that there was a specific mathematical algorithm, we call it in our poetic jargon, the search for the invariant measure of an oriented graph, whatever, that would take advantage of the collective information of the graph on the network to find the most plausibly relevant information. And that checks every box of the definition of AI that I told you, except that it does not attract the buzz now. And people don't think of it now of AI because the debate has moved elsewhere. That's one important thing, the hype is there, and always the confusion about human or machine. For a very, very long time, even from the Turing time and the Turing test, even before Turing, when there was in 19th century the fake chess automaton that would play with the kings in the courts and pretend to be a machine that was in fact a human. There is the buzz in there, buzz and surprise, and it's a subject which has evolved by surprise after surprise. Big surprise 1997 when IBM beats Kasparov and the whole world says, wow, it can beat humans the best at chess. Big surprise in 2012 when there is a discovery which was an enormous surprise to the most revered specialists in the world that neural networks eventually did work. The best, they will tell you before the big professors at the top universities, they will tell you neural networks, they don't work. We tried them. Only a small team of people believe neural networks. Yann Lequin, Yoshua Bengio, Geoff Hinton, Ilya Sutskeyer, or Alex Krzyzewski.
Jürgen Schmidhuber.
Absolutely. And absolutely. And got the fame and the prizes and everywhere. But it was a total surprise even for the experts.
Yeah. I would add to that because I think, you are right that we are attaching a buzz to something that is or has been incrementally built for a while already. Even when you think about ChatGPT, obviously it's not the past 2 years. It's more like 10 years of research work, or at least 8 years of research work prior, and that work was building on something else. But I think there is another component to this revolution that is quite relevant as well, and that's, I would call it accessibility, right? So the fact that suddenly great populations, many people can touch this technology because it communicates with them in a natural language. So something that is a very intuitive way. And I think you are not discouraged anymore by the fact that you have to learn how to code. Instead, you just talk, prompt the models, and suddenly you get better or worse answer, but you get it. And it's not the chatbot from the past that is clunky, but it's in fact a technology that is quite robust. So I think there are two things. The buzz has always been there, and the interest, because AI is a sort of metaphysical project, I would say, philosophical, very interesting, intriguing, scary. But on the other hand, something has shifted, and that thing that has shifted is this interface that is accessible to the masses. And that is triggering our attention so much. This is why generative AI gets so much more attention than those other disciplines that are equally important, I think.
This is, sorry, just a very quick comment.
You make my job easier, so absolutely, go ahead.
Now, that is, now I'm trying to say a very complex word, anthropomorphism of the software. This is a real risk, because we tend to attribute now to these software implementations capabilities that they don't have, because we tend to attribute to them our own capabilities, like people that fall in love for these algorithms, people that are incited to suicide by interacting with an LLM, or people that think that they possess a consciousness. All of this is totally absurd, given that they are just statistical correlation based on past observation of data. But the interface and the fact they interact with us in natural language is totally astonishing, because this was the real turning point.
It's very important what was just said, and it's important to demystify how this kind of algorithm works. Here is a crude image to explain you the kind of work that an LLM, large language model, does. Imagine that you are an intern in some, big lawyer agency, and you have to learn how to build a case, etc. But this is in a foreign language that you don't understand the damn word of. And your advisor, he tells you, okay, here is first this case, I just removed some words and you have to fill in the right words. You don't understand anything. What do? You look at all examples from the past and the records, and you have time, you look at millions of examples, and you see if the sentence is like this, what is the most likely word that is there, and you put it there. And then later, he will remove some sentences, and you will find statistically where is the sentence. And then you will learn statistically that if there is this word here, there has to be that word here, and there has to be this word, and this, etc., etc. We're browsing billions of cases. At the end of the day, do you know what you're doing? No. But can you do it? Yes. That's the amazing thing. But you have, A, we should not think that there's a conscious in there. And B, if you think in terms of efficiency, the animal brain is still much more efficient. We do this consuming almost no power, almost no information. We still have not unraveled at all the magic of why the biological brain works.
Yeah. You're just breaking the hearts of many people who believe that their AI assistants who they fall in love with, and we know all these stories, it's all over the press, that are real people, and now you're telling them, no, they just, choose whatever you want to hear.
Some people, sorry to interrupt you again, some people even resurrect people. And I think this is really civilization threatening. They will resurrect your dead child to interact with him or her.
That's the truth. I saw Terminator movie.
But if I may, I think we've always had this tendency, so there was a culture of letter writing in the 19th century, for instance, where people would write letters to each other without seeing each other, and then they would fall in love, with an image of a person that they've not in real life interacted with. So we have this proneness, natural proneness to kind of, fall in love, let's say, with celebrities that we don't encounter in real life. And I think chatbots are filling that role very well. Why? Because of the interface, but also because they're kind. And that is a crucial thing because, I'm thinking quite a lot about youth, young people, our students as well. And the project that we're pursuing with Andrea that I mentioned is very much focused on their experience with AI, making it healthy, but also with boundaries, reflexive, right? That they understand this is just a technology. But I think it's a tough moment where students, for instance, tell me, hey, but what I'm facing online is mostly bullying and harmful content, and at least ChatGPT is super nice to me. So I'm having this kind of interaction. Maybe there's nobody on the other side, just a system that generates, regurgitates, words, but at least it's a polite form of conversation that gives value to me. So I think we are facing a situation which we have to reconcile with, and I think we have to figure out solutions where more and more people will be drawn to these technologies because it will feel safe to talk to them, because it will feel, that it's a good thing, even though it's a simulation, obviously, of a real emotion, right? There's nothing of that kind inside, but if it's something that allows you to practice better communication with humans, that's great. But if it's something that locks you in that experience, and then kind of creates a situation where the society feels hostile, then we are sort of in a problematic moment, I think.
Here are two great examples I'd like to add to what you just said.
Go ahead. I'll jump off the stage. I'm just going to listen to you.
Please come back. We love you.
I love it. I truly love it. Please, you're fantastic. Go ahead.
So first, there was...
Only a human could do that, AI would not play such a spontaneous game here.
Go ahead.
First example, which is at the same time, is scary and hopeful. There was example in tests in which, patients in consultation with medical doctors, there were two sets. One of them was discussing with real doctors, and the other ones were discussing with AI. And globally, they found the ones using the AI were more satisfied. They found their answers were more reassuring, and they felt better. Because sometimes, let's face it, humans are not kind, and what you say, and doctors, and I met some examples that tell you, yes, your disease is terrible, etc., and they will not be kind to you. And secondly, when you are in the office of the doctor, usually interaction with the doctor is just a fraction of the time. Most of the time, the doctor will be typing on the computer, proceeding some files, etc. You will see actually not just the face of the doctor, but the computer, the back of the computer, which is not very sexy. And then, you know, the quality of the experience is not good. So from this, we have to learn how to make the human quality better. And this gives us way to learn. And second experience, which I found quite funny, is a group of activists from a very left-wing group in Italy. Once I met, and they told me, yes, we love these LLMs, and we trained ours in such a way that he will answer our questions like a grumpy conservative. So we can train in the public debate to be better and better for our discussions and debate.
No, actually, since I'm kind because I'm a sort of an AI, I would like to invite our moderator to ask me a question.
Yes. Welcome back. What a big entry.
I think you're doing an amazing job. Let me ask you about the geopolitics of AI, because I don't know if many of you saw the interview yesterday here in Impact with Ashley Vance, the US technology journalist, who's writing a story about Stargate, the famous project, AI project in Texas, in Western Texas. And he's talking about 10 buildings being built there, and each one of the buildings is worth $50 billion. $50 billion. And he said that he was traveling around China, and he thinks Chinese are thinking about similar projects. Nobody talks about projects of this magnitude in Europe, and I wonder if you think that Europe is doing enough in terms of political involvement, in terms of political will, and in terms of money to be a leader in the field of AI research.
Mm-hmm.
Well, partly this is true, because the type of venture capital that we see in the US is nowhere present in Europe. So basically, there isn't the same type of money. And secondly, the type of commitment that a government like the Chinese one can put in a project is nowhere to be seen in Europe, where we have a number of problems like our military defense, where countries cannot coordinate. Let's forget about...
Fortunately, they coordinate in Ukraine. We see amazing impact that the AI research has on the front lines in Ukraine.
Okay, yeah, I was thinking more of the technological interfaces between the different systems.
That's actually what's happening in Ukraine, exactly.
Okay,
there is the cybersecurity issue and cyber warfare coming into this, in which AI comes with a lot of enhancement of the game, if I may say. No, I say game, but it's a terrible game, consuming a lot of resources and putting a lot of danger. But it's very important in this to understand that the skills in programming and cyber are also very important skills for the defense and security. Now, to tell about what you are saying, to see the insane amounts of money that are put on the table for these projects and so on, I'm glad that we don't put as much money in this. We have to find some middle ground between the current amount, which is too small, and the amount that we see spent in the US or in China, which is just too big and totally not sustainable for the world or the economy.
Because it depends where you put your money, because you have to look at the return on this investment. And I don't think that all of this money that has been invested in these huge projects is justified, especially in the light of some recent results that we've seen in the performance of this large language model, where the hallucinations are increasing instead of going down.
Yeah, it's starting indeed to
plateau.
Starting to see
reach a plateau.
Yeah, we are reaching the plateau.
So probably what Cédric is saying is very sane, in the sense that we have to find a good level of investment, taking care, especially on the scientific approach behind the investment, in order to be able to share the data, to share the results, validate those results, and then offer to companies the opportunity to exploit the results that we can produce in academia, but that are results that are proven, not simple papers that are published on a refereed forum.
But I wanted to add something because I think, my reflection is the following. I remember myself last year bragging about how Europe is sleeping on this revolution. And I will say that I am seeing a shift. And I'm not sure if you also observe it.
I agree.
But we do see it. And maybe some of you have been following what's been happening in Sorbonne in France just a week ago or so, where Ursula von der Leyen actually announced, a union of capital or capital union, right, where we should be connecting private and public entities to kind of together raise capital for innovations in Europe. We haven't seen such mechanisms prior. This is a wake-up, clearly, and also the call to, come back to Europe to do science, choose Europe for science, quite interesting. I think a very smart game here, like you were saying. And what I'm observing is that we are quite serious about this artificial intelligence hype. So we are trying to demystify some of the hype, see what makes sense. And I think the approach where we are raising money, because there is this fund, it's called, I think, Invest AI. It's 200 billion. It's being collected. It's fine. But in the US, I just want to remind you, SoftBank, Oracle, and OpenAI announced that they would have 500 billion. But then Elon Musk on the other day tweeted that the money is not there. So, I think some investments are indeed happening. The capital is clearly very, very dense in the United States. But I think we still have to check every now and then what's really happening, what's under the hood, and we can choose our own pathway.
Let me also say, in all this super hype, there is a little bit of something mystic, almost religious, so to speak.
Yeah, the AI god.
Yeah. First, think of this, that the reaction of society was so much stronger with words than with images.
Yes.
Generative images made some impression, but the talk, and was much more. It's like the verb is God, and that's how it creates the world, etc. And when you hear people, like when you hear these guys, there was at some point Eric Schmidt, former CEO of Google, saying, let's get rid of the climate change commitments, we are unable to reach them, let's rather invest on super AI that will give us the way. It's like, let's find let's construct the entity, the God that will lead us through the thing,
and then it will tell you, now focus on climate.
Yeah. And we say, thank you. And we will have spent thousands of billions to hear
it will tell you, it's too late, baby.
Even worse.
So what? And when you read maybe the Altman, the Altman statement maybe is even more crazy. In his manifesto, he tells you, we can think of a world based on AI in which we will know every law of physics. Can you imagine this? Mm-hmm. And you will, a world in which every single human will live better than the billionaires of today. This is like really the prophet of a new cult or something. We cannot honestly trust people speaking like this for the future of our society, my friends.
No, we cannot.
Yeah.
So I started the panel discussion with a statement that nobody knows where the AI is going into, what's going to happen next. So because we have less than 2 minutes, let me ask you, where is the AI going to? What's going to happen next? Please answer the question. So what do you think we should invest in terms of AI? What should we be looking forward? What's the next breakthrough?
I will say a few things. Causality in AI. AI should be able to learn how the world works. So connects back to what Aleksandra was saying, physically embodied AI in robots and machines, but also interacting in virtual worlds, transparency of the data and trustworthiness of the results, explainability.
Well, I mean, just commenting on what you said, I will again switch to humans. Let's invest in ourselves in the AI age, in our skills, appreciating this beautiful architecture that we have right here that is so energy efficient, and doesn't require billions of dollars, right, to process information really well and allow us to adapt to the world around us. So that's, I think, very, very important. I would invest in reflexivity around the usage of Gen AI and also beyond. And also in us asking questions, right? I think we're rarely asking ourselves the question, what do we want? What would we like, right, from this revolution? And it's exactly what you said, that there are people, the prophets of artificial intelligence, that are telling us what it's going to be, and we're just supposed to align with that, right? Follow through. And I think we don't have to follow through, because it's certainly not a religion, and doesn't have to be. It can be a systematic research where we say, all right, this is my boundary, this is not what I want, and I'm excluding this technology here, but here I would like it. And I think this is something I would want to see in the future.
And the last word goes to you.
So one of the key buzzwords currently in the research and development communities, apart from those that have already been said, is agents currently, in which any people are trying to build this kind of your algorithm, which is like your representative, and that will ask and interact with many other programs depending on how you parameterize it, like something like your personal agent. And a lot of projects are being built on this, and that's too early to see if this will indeed be a revolution or what are the sides and so on. But that's, it's a subject in which every month or so there is a new keyword and projects are being tried and so on. But we should not be obsessed with the question, where is the new revolution from? We should be obsessed by saying, okay, there are a number of techniques. We frankly are in a field in which the experimentation is lagging much ahead of the theory. Theoreticians, probably we still don't have the right concepts and the right theorems, if I may say, the right theories to really understand what is going on. We have to accept this, we have to work on this, but we have to invest in a number of tracks. There will be some unknowns and there will be some big surprises. That is the only certainty I can have. Investing in the human capital is the most important we can do in this. This will be the basis of all. It's for the level of the society, but also at the level of companies. And invest in the relation and dialogue and interdisciplinary fields that they were. And as you very rightly said, ask ourselves questions, not just following it. Remember, before the 2008 financial crisis, all the banks who are using the same mathematical algorithms and saying this, it works. How could it fail? It will still work. Let's continue. And then we saw the dramatic catastrophe. And the people who had asked the question before, look, there is this risk and that, had been dismissed like, come on, we can make money on this. Let's just continue like it is. Let's not be like this. Let's continue to ask questions and put in the game all the chain, from consumers to companies to citizens to researchers. That is the combination, and that will be able to work at the European scale, my friends.
I would love to listen to you for the rest of the day, but we have to finish. So please let me thank you, and please thank our panelists for this discussion.
And our moderator.
Thank you. Thank you.